Welcome to Roland's Travels. Today you join me in the village of Southwick. This is a village that lies just outside of Trowbridge, the county town of Wiltshire, and is separated from Trowbridge by this green valley. People are trying to build on it, but at the moment it's okay. We cross the stream, the Lambrock, which flows from just outside of Southwick through to Trowbridge, where it joins the River Biss. Let's take a look first of all at the Southwick Country Park. We're not going to walk around it, but there are many acres here of land that people can enjoy. It's around 350 acres, and also have the Animal Park, a great place to bring children. It's run to help those who have learning difficulties. Down that drive lies the former Southwick Manor, now called Southwick Court Farmhouse, a very old building dating back hundreds of years. It's been a private residence for over 800 years. We can't go down there, unfortunately, but it's surrounded by a moat as well. Now, as we come up the hill into Southwick, we approach the village sign. On my right-hand side are the animals found in the country park there for the animal park. But there's a few interesting buildings in Southwick. The population's probably just over 2,000 now. Many of the properties are fairly new, but it is a nice little village and worth exploring for some other features that we're going to see. It was once really populated by many weavers who worked at home until they began to move into Trowbridge to the mills when mechanisation came in and took over from much of the home work. Some of these buildings that we'll see through Southwick date back to that time. Some have been demolished, sadly, but we'll have a look and see what we can find. That was a former farmhouse there, Grove Farm. And the area now on my left, Fleur de Lis, that was once a pub stood there, one of Southwick's former pubs, which had been demolished to make way for the housing estate coming up on our left-hand side, just a little further along. There is still one pub remaining, and that is the Farmhouse Inn, which we shall see shortly. Certainly a gorgeous day today to take a look at Southwick. That's the area where the Fleur de Lis once stood. On that side now we'll look across from the Fleur de Lis side and take a look at the buildings opposite. But you see again, many buildings are relatively modern. There are still a few shops left in Southwick village, and we'll show you where those are. That's the allotments, very popular for some people. Chantry Gardens. And there are the remaining shops. Many of the ones on your right now have been turned into houses, with just a couple left at the end. And there we have the Farmhouse Inn. That's relatively modern as an inn. It was a farmhouse turned into an inn in more recent times. There were 4 other pubs in the village at one time, which have now all gone. Let's walk further on down towards the centre of the village. This is the main road through the village, the Froome Road, and then there is Winsome Street, which goes off to the left further down. This is the old National School, and this was a school until 1975 when it was replaced. It's now a Scout headquarters. So here we can see the date of the school, 1867. So it's still looking remarkably good after all those years. Now there's Church Street. We're going to take a look at Church Street later on in our video, so join me for that. And we can see some of the older cottages mixed in with the new. Now coming up on our left is a former chapel. It's now a house. This was a chapel that was opened in 1861 called Providence Chapel. It was set up by a breakaway group from the strict Baptists or these became strict Baptists from the other Baptists in the village. A very strong Baptist village this was indeed. I'll tell you something about the church later on with regard to that, which you can see in the distance on the mini roundabout halfway through the village on Froome Road. So there's the church. But before we take a look around the church, we'll carry on a little bit further. Again, as you can see, a lot more modern buildings. Some more around about the Victorian area, early 1900 as well. And then we have some local businesses along here. We have a hairdresser's and a convenience store coming up on the right hand side, and we also have a garage and car sales left hand side, and then a former industrial building further down, which we'll just see as we go past. Once we reach the crossing, having passed this row of terraced houses, we should find on our right hand side the shops. So there's the first of the garages, Norris Motors. No longer selling petrol along here, as many petrol stations have closed down over the years. So the first one is a hairdresser, and then we have a Premier convenience store. It used to be a nice home brewing store, that one on the right hand side first of all. The village has a new school after the old one closed in 1975, the one we just looked at. That's behind the buildings on our left hand side, which is accessed off one of the housing estates. Again, some older cottages there on the right. Slightly new ones attached to them. Now, coming up on our left hand side is the former post office. There it is, that white one on the end, that was the post office. Again, post office has been closing down like no one's business in the UK. And the village hall and social club is just there. And a list of events on. And just take another look at the post office on the end as we sweep back and have a look down the way we've just walked. We'll carry on a little further, give you more of a tour of Froome Road until we reach the end of the housing. There's the other car sales. That was built on the site of a pub that stood there. So all of the first 4 pubs that used to be in Southwick, all of them were demolished, and that's been turned into a car detailer's. But over the years, that many businesses have sort of come and gone in those premises. There is an industrial estate, small one, just outside Southwick. If we carried on this road for a few hundred yards outside of the village, we would find that small industrial unit on our right hand side. The area coming up on our left is the site of the former blind house, and they've remembered that by building this little garden area with a seat. Now, blind house is a lock-up where the miscreants would be locked up until they could be dealt with by the court in the days before police stations. So we'll just work our way as far as where that car is emerging, and then we'll go back to where the church is on the roundabout. There we are, so now we're back at the church. The church, in order to tempt the Baptists, actually had a baptism pool inside the church, which is very unusual, but it's something they did to try and get in with the people in the area. It was built between 1899 and 1904 was the church, so it's not a particularly new church. We're going to go down Winsome Street now. Again, a mixture of old and new properties as we work our way through. It's an extremely busy road. Many of the trucks from the quarries around Frome will come down through this road to bypass Trowbridge, and you'll see some of the big lorries as we are walking along here. You can certainly hear them as well, can't we? We will cross the Lambrock as well, again, as it works its way around Southwick. We crossed it at the start of our walk, and we'll cross it again. And there's something interesting on the Lambrock here. You just see the green fencing coming up. We're about to reach it. Let's go and take a look. Those quarry lorries on its way back to refill. Now this is interesting. This is the Lambrock crossing, the bridge. Here we are. And on our right hand side now, as we go over the bridge, we're going to find the baptism pool. This was rebuilt in 1937, but it drew its water from the Lambrock. And you see they've put a stone wall against the stream there. And there is the baptism pool, which now finds itself in front of some houses they built in more recent years. We'll try and take a look down through the fencing, get a closer look at it. And we'll also take a look at the chapel when we get further down. But there's the pool. It's now got lots of things growing in it. It has been used. It's quite a while ago since I've last read about it being used, but it has certainly been used in the last few decades. And there's the steps leading down to the pool. And then just a little further along the road is the actual chapel. Now there was a chapel on this site from 1709, but the one we see here, when there was a Baptist revival, led to a replacement chapel being built in 1815. And there we have the chapel. It does have a cemetery around it as well. There's some work taking place in there, so we didn't go around that. Some of the old gravestones have been placed in front of the chapel there. I believe the little addition on the side there was for a Sunday school, which at one time was very popular indeed. Now we've gone back up to Church Lane. On the right hand side there are some new houses which were built on the site of a builder's yard, Molem Construction. So it's called Molem Court, I believe, that area now we're looking at. And down here, again, there was once a pub stood on the ground somewhere here in Church Street, so that's gone and replaced by a lot of new homes. There are some older properties we'll just take a look at towards the end of the road here as we go past all this new development. And then much of Southwick after this really is just two or three new housing estates. So these are mainly the older properties that we'll find around Southwick. There's a few odd ones scattered here and there, but these are the main sort of things to actually look at on this lovely, gorgeous day in March. Actually got quite warm now. So on this corner, as you'll see coming up, as we pass the sort of 1950s, 60s properties on the left there, and this beautiful blue sky, we'll come to this row of cottages here. And the ones just on the corner, which you'll see the end of the building there. Comes one of those electric cars, you can't really hear them till they're on top of you. Well, on this beautiful day, I'm going to say cheerio. Thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed the blue sky and looking at Southwick. Do subscribe to the channel. It'd be great to have you on board. Got more ideas for videos coming up very soon, and we look forward to seeing you then. Take care, everybody, and bye for now.